Hey everyone. First and foremost, I want to say this will probably be my last court video for a little bit. I am pretty much in the path of Milton, and I have no idea what is going to happen and what the next couple weeks are going to bring. I will keep you updated as much as I can through social media if I have access. Now, today we're going to head over to the great state of Kansas. I am not even sure what to say or how to describe this case. This woman was living with a man. He tried to evict her 3 times now, has been successful, but the evictions never actually physically happened. They happened in court, they were granted, but she was never physically removed from the residence. He was living in the residence as well, and it's gotten to the point to where he is now living somewhere else. She's living in the residence, and in my personal opinion, she appears to be batshit crazy. There's also a medication issue, mental health issues, and all of that. I think both of those things can be going on at the same time. You let me know what you think, because I just can't wrap my head around this one. This is the 13th Judicial Circuit in the state of Kansas, Judge Marfin, and it is an absolute dumpster fire. So light the match. Let's go to court.
All right. Are parties present on the McGregor versus Hope matter?
Yes, Your Honor. Kurt Holmes is here representing the plaintiff, Mr. McGregor, and Mr. McGregor is present.
All right. And Miss Hope, are you present, ma'am?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Can you hear me, Your Honor?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. We are on the record in Hector Van Lewis McGregor versus Julie Hope. The case number is Butler County 23 LM 1143. Mr. McGregor appears in person and by and through his counsel, Kurt Holmes. Ms. Hope appears in person and pro se. I am in receipt of several documents in the file, the original pleadings, of course, and also some additional documents, an answer, and then some supplementary information. Mr. Holmes, at this juncture, what is the particularized position and prayer of Mr. McGregor?
Your Honor, Mr. McGregor is the owner of the property in Andover. It is his home. During his pendency of living there in the home, Ms. Hope needed a place to stay. He allowed her to stay in his home for a period of time, a short period of time. However, Ms. Hope has continued to stay in his home and not vacate. And it has resulted in Mr. McGregor actually having to leave his home due to Ms. Hope's presence. And so we have filed an action under 61-3801 by delivering a 3-day notice to Ms. Hope. That was done on December 7th of 2023, asking that she vacate the home. And to date, she has refused to do so.
Okay. Ms. Hope, do you have any particular position or prayer on the case at this time?
We lost her, Judge. Give me just a second.
Okay, thank you. Oh, can you hear me now, Ms. Hope?
I'm so sorry, Your Honor. I'm so sorry. I got
no,
disconnected.
That's okay. I'm glad you were able to come back in. Basically, in case you missed out on that part, Mr. Holmes had just summarized for his client the position they are taking, that Mr. McGregor had agreed to let you live in his home for a period of time, and that because of various issues, they're seeking your eviction from that home. And that's the request they're making of the court. Do you have any particular position or prayer today?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor, I do. I have I've submitted some evidence via fax today. in regards to the retaliatory treatment that Miss Hope received, and pardon me as I speak in third person, it's a little bit easier, Your Honor. And Mr. McGregor and Miss Hope had an agreement until the 16th, and then he submitted an eviction notice on the 7th, which was a breach of the contract that both parties had. Number one. Number two, in regards to Ms. Hope trying to secure other residency and such and medical treatment, Ms. Hope received numerous threats, which can be provided via video, via recording. In regards to Ms. Hope's health, Mr. McGregor threatened Ms. Hope if she left the residence that she would be locked out. That also can be substantiated. Ms. Hope was just recently so sick that she finally was able to make it to urgent care. She does have a health condition of a tumor on her esophagus, and she was ordered a CAT scan in December. But because of her fear of any additional mistreatment or unlawful actions against her, as Mr. McGregor admits on video, to using the police as a means to have Ms. Hope removed. And this goes along with her health, that Ms. Hope was so scared to leave the premises to get treatment for her health because of his threats to lock her out. And so she did finally, barely able to function, was able to make it to get the urgent care, and she was prescribed 6 medications. So Ms. Hope has a few motions to make. Number one, it would be to continue this case, and I'm sorry, I should have requested to start with the motion to dismiss it, Your Honor. And she does request a motion to continue it because she is just recently being prescribed for the proper medication and she is representing herself, and she is only asking for a week. And that would be a motion she'd like to have set this case for trial next week so she can subpoena the pharmacist she spoke with yesterday in regards to her concern because of the threats that Mr. McGregor has made regularly about Ms. Hope seeking medical treatment. And this is not the first instance that this has happened. And so Ms. Hope also submitted a notice to vacate on the 21st and will be gone in a week. So she does, and I apologize, Your Honor, I'm really not health-wise the best that I could be. And this is important to me, and I respect everybody's time. I respect this opportunity to speak, and I do like to follow through on my agreements. It just made it very difficult to leave on the assigned date when I received an eviction notice, and it had not even been, the time had not even expired. Number one. Number two, Ms. Hope was scared for her health and safety. And number three, she wanted to speak and use her voice to advocate for her rights. Ms. Hope has provided a copy of an agreement where Mr. McGregor agrees to allow Ms. Hope to submit his car insurance dated back to October of 23, to submit to her insurance agency, as he signed a statement that Ms. Hope is legally residing in his property. Mr. McGregor claimed on his notice that Ms. Hope was at the residence illegally. And Ms. Hope would like to file a motion to dismiss the case because in that notice, Mr. McGregor stated that Ms. Hope was there illegally, but Ms. Hope had been there since September. So if, from the understanding that Ms. Hope understands of the law, in her petition in response to the second petition and amended claim by attorney Kurt Holmes, she did address that pursuant to KSA 613803 and KSA 582564 or KSA 582570, Mr. McGregor didn't provide proper notice of termination of the tenancy. And he did not specify a cause for terminating the rental agreement early, as is required by law, either for not paying rent, for violating the lease, or a 30-day notice to terminate the lease. Ms. Hope believes that this eviction is a result of it's a retaliatory action because Ms. Hope told the police on December 7th when they were here that Mr. McGregor had admitted to her on video and on voice recording prior on 2 occasions that he had just called the police to have her physically removed. And she told him that she was going to talk to the police and participate in that investigation. He's also, I mean, that's just one of the examples.
Okay, well, I think what I'm hearing you say is 2 or 3 different things. I want to make sure I'm understanding your requests. It sounds like you're wishing to file a motion to dismiss this action. You're also wanting to set this matter over 1 week for trial for purposes of getting any exhibits or potential witnesses in line and prepared and under subpoena. It's my further understanding that you're indicating that irrespective of all that, and correct me if I'm wrong, your intention is to be out of the home by, I think your letter said the 28th. Forgive me, I'm trying to find that here.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, is that, have I summarized that correctly?
Yes, sir. I know I did present a few motions. Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor. I did present a few motions, and yes, I have provided what I hope to be enough time for and a reasonable time, and in that letter stated specifically a 7-day notice to most definitely vacate these premises, absolutely, and never return to this property again, ever.
Mr. Holmes, we had received at the clerk's office here a letter today which communicates much of what Ms. Hope has explained verbally, including her intention to be out of the property on the 28th of January. With all of that background, what is your position with respect to setting a trial date a week from today, or any of the other motions or requests that Ms. Hope has indicated an intention to file?
Your Honor, we're present today. We'd like to move forward with getting possession. We're ready to move forward. So I would ask that her request to continue this be denied. As I've indicated, my client has had to vacate his own home, and she has completely taken over his home. She's had notice that she was to be vacated clear back on December 7th. So we think it's just further stall on her behalf, and really don't give much credence to the fact that she's going to vacate.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go off camera and off mic just for a moment. I just want to make sure I understand everything that's in the file here. I have reviewed it, but I want to make sure I haven't missed anything. And then I'll come back on and rule on her request, and we can go from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Hope, are you still able to hear me, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I have had a chance just to refresh my recollection briefly. Ms. Hope, I do want to explain, you had mentioned a couple of times that there were exhibits in the file that the court may wish to consider. I'm not finding any exhibits as yet in the court file, so I just want to make you aware of that. I am going to grant the request for continuance for 1 week to January 29, 2024 at 2:30. Ms. Hope, I don't know what impact the exhibits that you're wanting to submit may have. I don't know what the evidence will be at trial. I certainly don't know what ruling I may make having heard that evidence or having seen those exhibits. But I do also want to explain that while I'm taking care to hear what you're saying, and I'm trying to be as best I can be um, even-handed in terms of hearing what you're saying as compared to the pleadings and statements from the plaintiff. I also feel it very important to understand that, from the plaintiff's perspective, Mr. McGregor is out of his own home. And so I would anticipate if at the trial next week, for whatever reason, you're not following up on what you had explained about vacating the premises on the 28th. And if at the conclusion of that hearing, I were to find that an eviction would indeed be appropriate, I suspect Mr. Holmes would have that paperwork ready and prepared to send to the court for immediate review and filing. And I just want to make sure, we're kind of all on the same page about the fact that there are no exhibits as yet in the file. And if you're wanting those to be heard, I'll need to have those available by next week. And also just to understand that there are very heartfelt interests on both sides of this case. I don't know where the evidence will lead, but if it were the case that the court were to make a finding in plaintiff's favor, I would anticipate that the intention would be on the plaintiff's part to try to, as quickly as possible, effectuate that eviction. So, I mean, that may be a non-issue in as much as you've expressed verbally and in writing your intention to be out of there by this coming Sunday. But I just want you to kind of understand the fact that the court file doesn't yet have the exhibits you mentioned.
Your Honor, may I
Yes.
speak, please?
Sure.
The police were knocking on my door. I did not answer them though, but they were knocking on my door. So
And
I hope that was,
I have
I'm
no
sorry.
idea for what reason they would have been there, and I'm not going to weigh in on the appropriateness or inappropriateness of your actions in that context. But certainly, as far as this case is concerned, I am granting your request for continuance for 1 week. It will be my intention to go through to a conclusion when we reconvene next Monday at 2:30, and I'll look forward to seeing each and all here at that time.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. I appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
McGregor.
you.
Thank you.
Julie,
Yeah, yes, Miss Wells?
you don't need to be on the hearings any longer. You're done with we're
Yes,
done
ma'am.
with your case. Okay.
Ma'am, do I need to, may I speak with you later today? Do I need to,
You
May-
might
or
try
may
to
I-
call me, you might try to call me first thing in the morning. Well, call me after 9. I have cases in the morning. I have hearings in the morning, but you can call me after 9 tomorrow.
may I
If you
ask
have
you
a
one
question.
question? Yes, ma'am, I can definitely, I think, I don't know if I have a doctor's appointment. I've got a lot of them lined up.
Okay, well, I'm
but-
here all day tomorrow, except for the noon hour.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am. Ma'am, do I need to, may I ask, do I need to file any paper? How long do I have to file the paperwork about today's hearing?
what
So the-
paperwork are you referring to?
Do I need to file anything today with you all? Anything in addition in regards to this?
You don't need to file anything, no. I will file a notice of hearing for your next hearing, which is next Monday. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I will be in touch with you tomorrow. Thank you all
right,
so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I don't have a copy of the hearing on the 29th, but I can only assume it went as expected because there was an order of eviction issued on that date. That is the last entry in case number 2.
All right. The next case I have is Hector Van McGregor versus Julie Hope. The case number is Butler County 24 LM 1193. Mr. Holmes appears for the plaintiff. Is Miss Hope on this meeting? I don't believe Miss Hope is on the meeting. Mr. Holmes, you may or may not know that the court had received some information prior to our going on the record, and the request is that basically for medical purposes, the case be continued at least a week. I recognize the hardship that might potentially work on your client, but I wanted to inquire of you as to any position you had on that.
Well, I'm not surprised by this because this has kind of been a pattern, but in any event, if it needs to be continued a week, we'll go ahead and note that on our calendar. I don't know, I don't see my client up here. He's supposed to be in here somewhere, but
Is Mr. Van McGregor present on the meeting? I don't see him either, but there are a lot of people on this meeting and I might just be missing him.
okay. Well, if that's what's we need to do, we'll go ahead and do that for a week then.
All right, I'll show this is continued at Miss Hope's request to September 16, 2024 at 2:30, and we'll look forward rather to taking the case up then.
All right, thank you so much.
Mr. Van McGregor versus Julie Hope. Mr. Holmes, I saw you on the meeting for the plaintiff. Is Miss Hope present on the meeting? All right. In the circumstances, counsel, do you have any prayers, positions, or requests of the court?
I do, Your Honor. I would ask that we be allowed to move forward with a journal entry and a writ due to the default of Miss Hope.
All right. I'm going to ask you to do exactly what you propose and prepare orders to that effect. I do want to indicate that the court had some level of concern associated with the request for continuance when this was related to the court last week and the case was continued to today's date. I'd like to put this on the docket for this coming Monday at 2:30, but with the expectation if there is no information that comes in yet later today, I'll be prepared to sign whatever orders you have on file tomorrow or Wednesday, and we'll be prepared to move forward from there. I don't know for certain whether there might be anything yet coming in today, and I want to leave room that the circumstances are unusual enough. I want to make sure that we have an alternative if something should come in.
All right, I'll go ahead and submit the paperwork, and then I guess the court can let me know if something else occurs.
Right. And I suspect your paperwork should be reviewed and signed this week. And I guess you should probably see that electronically. And at that point, you'll know that there's no need to convene on Monday.
All right, thank you so much, Ron.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
The next case I have is Hector Van McGregor versus Julie Hope. The case number is Butler County 24 LM193. The plaintiff appears in person and by and through his counsel, Kurt Holmes. Ms. Hope, I believe, also appears in person and pro se. This matter was here originally on the 9th of September, based upon a last minute submission by the respondent. The court continued the case to September 16th. At that time, at least initially, the plaintiff appeared, the respondent did not appear. I had explained at that time that I would make a finding in favor of the plaintiff, but that because of the nature of the matters previously before the court and acknowledging that other additional information might be coming in that day, I set today's date as sort of a backstop, such as it might be needed to move this case further along. In the interim, there has been a receipt of a request, and I think the receipt actually transpired prior to our hearing, prior to Ms. Hope appearing later in the day on this matter on the 16th. And it requested, amongst other things, a continuance of the case to today's date. It also had a request that another judge hear the case prospectively. More recently, and in fact, just before the hearing today, I have received a request from Ms. Hope asking that the matter be set over to October 7th and indicating that she will be filing a motion seeking that a new judge hear the case prospectively. With all of those things said, and again, I think it might be maybe useful to go a little out of order and give you, Ms. Hope, an opportunity to explain what specifically it is you're going to be wanting, why you're wanting it, and what you're intending to file by way of motions, and give Mr. Holmes an opportunity to respond to those things. I'm a little bit unsure. Are you feeling, Ms. Hope, that you're capable of going forward today?
Your Honor, yes, this is Julie Hope, and if I may speak, in
Well,
regard.
you may. I'm just confused a little bit because I was under the impression, based on the correspondence, that you might not be able to participate in today's hearing. And I just don't want you to feel pressure. Of course, I would like to move this forward. I think that would be in everybody's interest. But I'm also a little bit unsure exactly what you're wanting this court to do, at least at this snapshot in time. And so if you would like to speak, I want you to feel that you absolutely may do so. And I also, if you're unable to speak for whatever reason, I'm happy to hear your explanations along those lines as well.
Your Honor, and to the courts, if I may speak,
Of course.
in regards to the documentation from my psychiatrist, it states specifically that it's addressed today to the Butler County District Court. Due to her psychiatric health, Julie Hope is unable to participate in court proceedings at this time. I will reevaluate her status in 2 weeks. Sign, my doctor. So currently, Your Honor, my medication there's a national shortage, and I'm in the process of getting the medication I need to be.
I thought I found a respondent to a civil action that I could connect to. We had something in common. You see, she is struggling to get her medication as well. There are a lot of people that are struggling to get medication. Apparently, the active ingredient in most ADHD medications is limited by the federal government. This is according to my pharmacist. And it was overprescribed during the pandemic, and it hasn't been reined in and under control. So lots of people are taking it that don't really need it. And the people that really need it aren't able to get it, some of them. And it really sucks because when you don't have it and you desperately need it, you can't function. But anyways, so there's a lot of us that have been struggling with this and driving hours away to get to a pharmacy that actually has it. And it's a fun little conundrum.
Is unable to participate in court proceedings at this time. I will reevaluate her status in 2 weeks. Sign, my doctor. So currently, Your Honor, my medication there's a national shortage, and I'm in the process of getting the medication I need to be fully competent. And one of my diagnoses is protected by the disabilities, the American with Disabilities Act. And so we're requesting this continuance because I need to get the medication, number one, because there's a shortage, and number one, I need to be on this medication at least a week since I'm representing myself. Just on the side note, I don't anticipate that there will be anything. Once I'm on this medication, I have a family member who is going to be with me, and we're going to be, I'm going to be with them. And so I don't even see this. I will see that I see that this will all be, this will be moot at that point. But since I'm not, Ms. Hope is not currently prescribed as she should be. And it's of no fault of her own. I am requesting this motion for this case to be heard on October 7th. So I am fully treated and my psychiatric needs can be treated as they should be as any other person. And also in reference to, you know, I did make the request according to Kansas statutes, chapter 2311 for the change of judge. And there is a lot in this case. And so I'm making this request for a continuance based on the legal documentation from my medical provider.
We have to go live in a hotel.
Explicitly stating that because of psychiatric needs that the case be continued. And
So are you intending to file a written motion with respect to the question of who should be presiding over the case?
I don't know. I'm waiting to hear back from a friend lawyer in regards to all of that. But I did state in that the facts that was that I had help in preparing, requesting that. Since, Your Honor, I do think you're a great judge. You heard a prior case in regards to this matter. And so that's why we've decided that we request a different judge. So in order for me to be able to function normally, I'm making this last continuance, Your Honor.
In your paperwork, you said you wanted an extension to submit necessary legal documents and a motion for this hearing to be heard by a different judge. And I think that's appropriate. I'm not saying that your concerns aren't important, but I don't fully understand what they are. I mean, if I heard another similar case, I don't know on its face what that would be a reason why I couldn't hear the case from this point forward. But I want to leave you room to file that motion as you had requested. I want to ask Mr. Holmes, having heard Ms. Hope's prayer, what position does the defense have?
Well, obviously, we're being completely blindsided. She's never presented anything to us over this. My client has been out of his home now for 2 months. She's taken over his home. My client doesn't have, this isn't a hospital. This is just continued delay. I don't have any idea why you would not be able to hear this case. But obviously, it's all about further delay, further keeping my client out of his home. By statute, we're way out of time at this point. I don't know any reason why we can't move forward today. Obviously, she's had plenty of opportunity to find other housing. This has been pending since July 29th. So my client and I are opposing any further continuance on this. This is now the 3rd time we've been here.
Your Honor, I object, and I find that his statement is erroneous. The plaintiff, Mr. McGregor, has full access to this home and on numerous occasions has been here requesting sexual favors. And Your Honor, I don't feel safe discussing the reasons why I'm asking for the assignment of a new judge. But I do have evidence that needs to be presented to the courts in regards to this case. And I would appreciate Mr. Holmes' consideration in this prayer, along with the courts of Butler County, to accommodate Ms. Hope's disability so she can be treated for her disability and get her prescriptions and be prescribed appropriately as anybody who is requesting the affordance of having their
rights as somebody who's disabled as defined by the Disabilities Act. This is absolutely erroneous that Mr. Holmes would claim that this is Ms. Hope trying to delay the courts. Ms. Hope needs to be medicated in order to deal with the very traumatic facts of the case and being able to present this evidence to the courts. And also is going to have a family member with her present for the hearing on the 7th, hopefully with the new judge, and to finalize and discuss any questions regarding this case and completing it at that time.
Well, one of the questions I have, when you had last week sought continuance to today's date, you were expectant that you would be able to go forward today. And I guess my concern is, if I were to continue this to November the 7th, what would be the likelihood that you would indeed have your medication and be on it for the week or so you said you'd need to be on it so as to be able to go forward that day?
It would be, Your Honor, it would be 100% that Ms. Hope would be have her medication. She's should be receiving that in the mail. She should have received it a few days ago, actually, but still hasn't. And any documentation from my medical provider can substantiate all of these claims that are being made by Ms. Hope.
Well, and I'm sorry, you said you expect that you'll have that medication today?
I am expecting that prescription. I have to have the prescription resent because I never received it in the mail, and I need it to be, so it has to be resent again. So I had an appointment with my doctor, and I meet with him every week.
So you're meeting with them today, is that what you're saying?
I already met with my doctor, and I'm going to be meeting again today, yes, in regards to this case. And I do have to be medicated to deal with the trauma in regards to the PTSD and the injuries that have been inflicted.
And forgive me, I was just unsure about one thing. Are you saying that the medication is now available? You just need to get a replacement prescription?
The medication has not been available, no, Your Honor. So I have to get the medication. And if I have to go to a pharmacy in another city, I will. I want to just get this case over with and closed and move on with my life. But currently, yes, there's a national shortage in the medication. And so one day I can call on, yes, they have it. Another day they don't have it. I'm just waiting for that prescription in the mail so I can go fill that prescription. But since I haven't gotten it, I told my doctor, and he said he's going to send me another prescription. And he cannot, since it's a controlled substance, he can't have it requested over the phone. But I'm just wanting to get this case. I want to just finish this chapter and move on with my life. I'm just begging the courts to allow me to be able to represent myself in a fully functional, clear state of mind, and to be under this medication.
Well, I think that there is a little bit of a tension in that. I want to hear loudly and clearly your concerns, and I want to hearken to your heart's cry for some reasonable accommodations to be made. I'm understanding you today to say that even if it were to mean driving to another city to obtain the medication, you're expectant about being able to begin that medication sometime today. If I were to set this over to October the 7th, it would be important that you provide written motions explaining in fuller detail any concern you have about my presiding over the case, and also to give Mr. Holmes notice of specifically what claims you're making and how they are impacting you. And I'm asking, do you feel that you would be in a position, if you indeed start that medication today, to submit those written motions to the court with copies for Mr. Holmes before the time of that October 7th date?
Your Honor, to clarify, the medication is, I'm waiting on another prescription, so it will be a couple days before I get the prescription. I haven't received the new prescription. And so I'm waiting for it. So it will be a couple days before.
Okay. Well, even if that were the case, you said you'd be 100% ready to go on the 7th. Can you also, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, I'm just trying to understand, would you also be in 100% position to be able to explain in writing what concerns you have, either with respect to your current circumstances as they intersect with the petition before the court, and also with respect to any concerns you have?
Your Honor, you're asking me if I will be able to write motions and submit them to the courts before the court hearing on October 7th.
Correct. And what I'm also asking is that it would be early enough that counsel would have a chance to review them and that I would have a chance to review them as well, because I want to hear any concerns you have, and to the extent I'm able to act upon them. But at this point, when you tell me you think I've done a good job at one point, and also say that you have concerns in terms of feeling safe, I'm not sure exactly what to do with that in terms of my continuing to preside over this case.
Your Honor, that's a lot of information to process. And you're a judge, and I appreciate your service for the state of Kansas, and I have the utmost respect for you. I feel that there's a concern of impartiality, seeing that there was a previous case. And I would also, Ms. Hope also has evidence that she'd like to submit to the courts.
Okay. When with respect to that, your submission, you can have those in before the 7th. That's what I'm driving at.
If that's what you need, Your Honor, then I will submit to your request, Your Honor. I do request, though, that there be a different judge as well. And I say that with all the utmost respect, Your Honor.
Well, and I too am trying very hard to not only respect you, which is easily enough done, but also just to understand where you're coming from. And I'm in a position where if there is a cause that justifies same, I'm happy to recuse myself from a case. But at this point, I'm not really hearing anything like that. So if you're saying that you're going to make submissions, you had earlier indicated in your submission today that you would file any motions that you wanted to file. I'm just going to trust that as you've explained, you'll be 100% ready to go that day, including submission of any evidence or motions that you want to have considered, and we'll take it up. And I do think it's important, and I know you're saying it might be a moot point by then anyway, but I think it's important that we do our very best to work through to a decision on the 7th. And I am going to continue it this last time at your request to give you an opportunity to put your concerns before the court in the way that seems best to you. And we'll take up the matter at that time. I'll set it for 3:30 that day, so that maybe the rest of the docket can be worked through prior to taking up your case. And counsel, I note your objection for the record. I understand where you're coming from, but I think there are a lot of dynamic issues in the case, and I think that's the best way to solve them.
You're
Do you anticipate this will be a final hearing then, or is
That's
this going to
that's
be
my
going on further?
That's my expectation. Yes, sir.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Your
Okay.
Honor,
Yes,
may I,
ma'am.
please? May I speak, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say thank you, Your Honor, Judge Murphin, for your understanding professionalism and allowing me my legal rights to have a stable, clear mind to be able to present the facts of this case and have the final hearing on the October 7th. And I also want to thank Mr. Holmes for his professionalism. And I also request, Mr. Holmes, that if your plaintiff, Mr. Hector Van L. McGregor, has any mail that should be provided to Ms. Hope so she can be medicated, that it not be withheld from the defendant at this time, or any other mail that is related to, that is for Ms. Hope, so she can have her rights to receive her mail and be medicated properly. In regards to, Your Honor, the questions about or Mr. Holmes, will you please instruct your plaintiff to provide any mail that Ms. Hope is legally entitled to, that has been shipped to her, and not withhold
Well, I
any?
know that because it's now 2 months later and he has had to move out of his home, any mail that's directed to him is going to another address. So I can't stop that.
So you cannot instruct your mail. Oh, can you instruct your plaintiff to send a key to the mailbox so Ms. Hope can have access to her mail so she can be prescribed as legally she's supposed to be prescribed by her licensed psychiatrist, so we can move forward with this case?
I don't have any control over that. I'm sorry.
Okay. All I can do is ask to have access to my mail and not have it not be withheld. And then my request, Your Honor, is in regards to one of my I can't think of what it's called, but I have ADHD along with the PTSD, and in regards to being able to process and perform my duties as being requested, and I'm being afforded, and I'm so grateful for. For instance, when I was in my undergraduate courses, I would have somebody who would take notes for me because of the way that I process information. Is there any way that that I can correspond with have correspondence via email with your clerk in regards to what was discussed here today, so I can have all of that information timely before the hearing? And can you tell me what date would be timely specifically?
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. What information are you requesting?
Well, did I file motions today when I sent that information?
No, you just basically indicated that that was your intention. I'll read the section again. You just said that you were motioning for an extension to submit any necessary legal documentation for this case, and also a motion of this hearing for this hearing to be heard by a different judge other than myself.
And I believe I also motioned to have any of the faxes submitted into the case file as well, I believe. So those were not motions, Your Honor?
Well, I'm understanding the way that the sentence is constructed. You're asking for an extension of time to submit the necessary documents. Those documents have not yet been submitted. And also a motion that the court be that another judge be considered. And I haven't heard anything to this point that would prompt me to believe that that's appropriate. However, I'm giving you an opportunity as you submit these other documents to make that formalized request with the reasons you have for making same.
Thank you, Your Honor. So if I submit the document for the motion, one of them specifically for a different judge, if you receive that in a couple days, that judge would be able to be at the hearing for the October 7th, and we could finalize all of this. Is that what you're saying, Your Honor?
I am saying I will do my best to do exactly that. I know Mr. Holmes would also like to move this matter forward, but I would like to also explain that depending on what the motion contains, Mr. Holmes might want to be heard on that question himself. So if you want to submit what you think is appropriate, I'll be sure and look it over, and I'll do my best to try to put this case in a posture where we can finish this matter on the 7th of October.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hope. Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. We are reconvened on the Butler County Limited Actions docket. The next case I have is Hector Van L. McGregor versus Julie Hope. The case number is Butler County 24 LM 1193. We have been here 3 times previously on this case on September 9, at which time the matter was basically such that the respondent didn't appear, but there was a continuance request which was granted for 1 week to the 16th of September. On September 16th, Mr. Holmes appeared for his client. Default judgment was ordered. The court did note that if there was some new information introduced, as some of the signposts indicated there might be, the court would have to take those issues potentially into account. The matter was reconvened on the 23rd of September. Again, Mr. Holmes appearing with his client. The respondent was also present in person and pro se. The matter was continued to today's date. I am in receipt of some additional information, and it's only just come in, and it's approximately 20 pages, some of them being repetitious, some of them being simply the facsimile transmission pages. But in any event, I've sought to review it. In pertinent part, it sets out in writing a request for a continuance, indicating that Ms. Hope will be participating in some treatment and requesting that this matter be set over to the 21st, to the 14th or the 21st of October. Actually, this one simply says the 14th. I think one of the other documents said 14th or 21st. Mr. Holmes, does your client have a position on any proposed continuance of this case?
We made it very clear 2 weeks ago that this was the last and final setting. So absolutely, we would be against that. And this is just an ongoing issue. And as the court is well aware, we're almost 2.5 months now with my client being out of his home. And so we would object to that. And we don't see any reason why we can't move forward with getting my client's home back. And I
Okay.
didn't get a copy of any of this again, so I'm sorry, but I'm just blindsided.
Yeah, and it had just come in, and it looks like we might have one other party in our meeting. Miss Baylin, is the other party on this case?
I don't know who's on. It just says legal advocate.
Okay. Could you please identify yourself, the party identifying as legal advocate?
Your Honor, this is Julie Hope. I'm on a doctor's visit with my psychiatrist right now in regards to the motion of continuance. He is on the call right now, and I have submitted documentation for a motion of continuance, as I will be in.
Sure. What's your doctor's name? Do they wish to speak at this point?
Doctor.
Sir, he needs to submit. Sir,
Yes.
again, I'm here to request a motion of continuance for this case, so I can have
Well,
witnesses.
you said your doctor was there,
He's
and
on.
I guess I'm just
Yes,
asking,
he is.
is your doctor going to weigh
Your
in
Honor,
on their situation?
Judge Pro Tem, I wish to wait to answer any further questions until I have been seen for what is stated in the document, which is a signed document sworn by Miss Julie Hope to Judge Pro Tem James Murphy. Ms. Hope is going to be in rehabilitative services where she'll have medical advocates to help her understand this process. I ask that you continue this case where I'm in a medical facility and I'm surrounded by medical staff 24/7. I'm a very fortunate woman as I have excellent health care.
Well, I'm delighted for you, and that's wonderful, and not everybody has that blessing.
And
The
proceeding any further today will cause undue damage. And please allow Ms. Hope to have a motion to continue this to pretrial as set in precedent case on the motion that was filed and faxed to the 13th District Court of Butler County, Kansas for the case number, excuse me, let me pull up this document, case number BU22LM271 in the matter of Hector Van Al McGregor against Julie Hope with the Mr. Colt Holmes as his legal representative. Please allow Ms. Hope to, pardon me, Ms. Hope requests is kept. Ms. Hope is requesting an extended period of time for neurological rehabilitation, treatment of spinal cord injuries, cardiac care, complex trauma, and mental health treatment. As a result of these severe medical and psychiatric conditions and injuries, Ms. Hope is not in her full capacity to participate in these legal proceedings for this case. She then asks for it to be heard by a magistrate judge rather than Pro Tem James Murphy, and Ms. Hope needs time to regain her mental capacity as she has medical document to prove the medical injuries that are stated in this final motion of continuance. Ms.
Okay.
Hope is leaving the area of Western Kansas to go far away from here to get the medical treatment that she is legally allowed to have, and according to Code of Civil Procedure Section 43C, legal precedence which mandates that the court grant a continuance of hearing on a motion for summary judgment upon a good faith showing that a continuance is needed to obtain facts essential to justify opposition to the motion. Ms. Hope, citation Mahoney versus Southland Mental Health, SovCit Medical Group. You can see it in the motion, which will be sent to Mr. Holmes. And Your Honor, I have another thought, and I'm trying to remember it. And so Ms. Hope doesn't even understand the basis and the scope of this claim. And so she denies this claim because she doesn't understand the claim. And she needs to be in intensive medical treatment to receive the care she needs. And at that time, she suggested either October, a week from today, 2 weeks from today. I mean, Your Honor, in all honesty, my brain's not going to be fixed in a week or two, unfortunately. But at least Ms. Hope will have the medical providers there to help her understand what is going on. And so she can proceed in this. And understand what in the world is going on and how this is not somebody this is not supposed to be difficult for somebody has it's just neurologically, I need to be in a medical facility, and I have one I'm going to, and I'm very fortunate, and I need to be there to deal with the scope of this claim and petition that is totally, totally false. So, to my understanding, to Miss Hope's understanding. So Miss Hope is deserves that right, praise for that right to be in a medical environment.
All right. There's nothing
Far
further.
away.
Let's hope,
And she
Mr.
has
Holmes.
medical documentation, Your Honor.
What's that?
Ms. Hope has additional medical documentation to provide and add on to this motion of continuance, but there are multiple entities that
Your
are.
Honor.
So, sir, I'm still speaking. You said that in a different case. I heard you say that to a different person when they were talking, Your Honor.
I'm not sure what you're even saying. I'm
just saying there's a lot of medical documentation that's required in submitting this to you, sir. And if I was normal, I would have, this would have been resolved. But with the neurological damage, unfortunately, these things, they're very complicated, etc. So it's not asking for $1 million, folks. I mean, this house is probably worth, that he's basing a claim, is over $250,000. Like, is this even supposed to be in the 61 limited actions? Like, this is all not good for PTSD, and she doesn't want to discuss this case any further because I need to have medical providers, Your Honor. I only showed up because I want part of this process is learning to use my voice, and I'm thankful for my doctor. So thankful. And pursuant to the American Disabilities Act, the United States Constitution, I have there's an amendment, I believe it's the 5th, 7th, or 9th, that says that I have a right to understand what is going on and be competent in regards to all of these legal proceeding. Again, all I wish to submit at this time, Your Honor, is the request to set this for pre-trial, please. When I am safe, when I'm in a safe place, surrounded by medical providers, and also, protection from the people who are around the building that protect it. And I just don't feel safe. And medically, there's also that reason as well.
all right. Mr. Holmes, do you have any response?
Yes, Your Honor, we've allowed Miss Hope to appear now 3-4 times. She's never, ever been required to use her video. She's indicated at the very beginning of this that she was in a medical, if you would stop, she is in a medical
Miss Hope, you have to
facility.
let Mr. Holmes finish. I let you.
She's in a medical facility, she indicated at the start of all of this. And if that is so, there is no reason why she is keeping the possession of my client's home, to which she has no title to, and to which we have been seeking possession. I am going to ask the court to grant us possession of the home based on these statements that she is has medical services and treatment. The last time we continued this 2 weeks ago, it was for her to get her medication, which now it's off to a completely different scenario. And so there is no reason that this matter should be continued. We are ready and prepared to move forward to get possession of the home, and that's what we're asking for the court to do.
Your Honor, I object to the claims, to everything Mr. Holmes has said. It's all false. And Ms. Hope deserves to be able to speak with the mental capacity to understand this claim, which she feels but she understands neurologically and mentally that she's not at the capacity that she once was, and that her doctors are telling her she needs intensive treatment for. And so Ms. Hope is requesting that she be able to be at a medical facility, which she first stated today, that is full-time and is patrolled by people who are armed with proper equipment, proper equipment like guns to protect the people that are there. So she is not hurt by somebody who's, from her understanding, like she said, she does not understand the basis. There's no basis on this from what she knows, but she's not a lawyer. And there's nothing, the things that Mr. McGregor have said, there's nothing on your claim. There's nothing on your claim. It's simply a fishing expedition. But Miss Hope does believe that she is still affected by her mental incapacity and her neurological damage. And not only does she feel it, her doctors know it, and her medical specialists are saying the same thing. So Mr. McGregor is not losing anything, even if, for instance, this was, it's nothing. Ms. Hope. So Mr. Court Holmes, I just want to say, I don't appreciate your lying about
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this ongoing nonsense.
Yeah, that Ms. Hope,
reputation.
you can talk
to
about
protect
you,
your
can't. Okay,
which I will be reporting by.
Ms. Hope, if there's anything else that you wanted to say directly about the case, you may do that, but you can't cast aspersions at the participants in the hearing. And I think it's important too that we get through these issues kind of one by one. So was there anything else you wanted to say at this point about the continuance motion?
Your Honor, I have medical documentation to prove that I am not mentally competent to participate in this court proceeding because of my psychiatric conditions. And I also, Ms. Hope also has medical documentation to prove by her PCP and her referrals, neurologist, her pulmonary specialist, her physical therapist, the specialist for that's going to treat her tumor connected to her lungs and her hearts. Yeah, I've got, my CAT scan and all that. This is all real, and I'm happy to present this. Evidence from behavioral therapists, evidence from psychiatrists. This is a real case, and I would be honored for the opportunity to present all of this information to the courts to show that this is not this. I am an American citizen, and I served in the Air Force, and not very long, Your Honor, and I wish I would have done longer. I had some grad school completed. I got a traumatic brain injury. I am just not the same person, Your Honor, and I value contributing to society. This is not something that I have a social work degree. I have things I want to do to help my community, Your Honor, and I just can only start that by speaking up for myself, because just because I had these injuries, Your Honor, doesn't mean that people can continue to victimize me because they think I'm an easy target. So I am asking to be able to participate in this court proceeding with medical 24 staff medical providers by my side in the court next week for a pretrial hearing. And if I'm not in the pretrial hearing presenting the facts of the case, which I would appreciate that, Your Honor, with my medical providers, like I'm just saying, I need to be there, but there are certain things that have to take place in regards to insurance companies getting all the documentation. It takes a minute. And so, yes, I'm very excited and fortunate, but I have a right And it's my duty. It is my duty as somebody who served in the Air Force and loves America and wants to make America better, that I'm doing myself a disjustice to myself and all the citizens in America if I don't stand up for my legal rights. So all I'm asking is for that opportunity as somebody who loves America and is so grateful for the opportunity to heal. Because how many people go through things like I've been through or going through and are going through who will never have a chance? I am one of the lucky ones, and it's my duty to speak in this case, Your Honor. I have all the best wishes for everybody on the screen, Your Honor. All I'm asking is for 7 days to be in a safe environment where I can speak openly and understand the facts of this case and move on with this chapter permanently, Your Honor. And I requested to be with another judge. And I also would appreciate moving forward if any legal official would adhere to their code of conduct and stop dismissing me as somebody who's a nobody, because I can tell you I have a lot that I want to give to the community on the eastern side of Kansas, to the state of Kansas and America. I'm happy to do what I can, but I can't do that if I don't feel.
Well, I
Let
appreciate
me have my legal rights. You're
what you're
outnumbered
saying.
for homes.
I think in terms of, well, first of all, I think it's laudable that you served and love the country, and that you are seeking to position yourself to pay forward the blessings that you've had. I mean, that's all any of us can do. I think just on background, this case was continued initially for 1 week from September 9th through the 16th. When you did not appear that day, the
I
court,
was, Your Honor.
just a second, the court, because I had concern about your situation, I had allowed the default judgment paperwork to proceed, but I did indicate my willingness to consider any additional information that came in. We were here 2 weeks ago today, and at that time, I continued this matter over the objection of Mr. Holmes. And it was at that time that you were saying much of the same thing you're saying today, that you have documentation and that you're going to be presenting that, and you'll file motions with the court. I seem to remember that language. And really, I see a sentence where you ask that another judge preside, but I'm not seeing any reasons as to why you think that should be the case. And I'm also not seeing any new medical information. I know you had been very vehement about the circumstances under which you're currently operating, but there's no addition to the file in terms of anything regarding your situation since that last hearing on the 23rd of September. And I want to esteem, and to the extent it's relevant to the question of this eviction, I want to very much take into account any documents, any situations you think are important, but those are not presently in the file. And so from the court's point of view, I would be inclined to think that there's already been 3 continuances of this case, one of them for a couple of weeks. And it seems that with no new or additional medical information, it would seem that we would be poised to go forward at this time. So I would deny your request for continuance at this time. You have some options, Ms. Hope. If you would wish to do so, we can go forward with the hearing on this matter today. I assume that would involve Mr. Holmes.
Robin,
What's-
Robin, Your Honor, I was calling my doctor to get confirmation that I
I've been treated by my doctor today. I'm
Well,
just,
I thought you said you were at your doctor's office.
I am on the phone with him.
Well, you said at the beginning of the hearing that you were at his office.
No, Your Honor, I said I'm with my doctor right now, respectfully. And I'm calling the receptionist to prove it to you.
Well,
Because
I'm not sure that the receptionist will want to give that sort of information out over the phone in a hearing that's being live streamed and recorded. So,
Your Honor, you're saying that you want to deny this because you don't have medical documentation. I'm trying to get my doctor on the phone. I was in a doctor's appointment, and he can send a letter stating that he was on the phone during these court proceedings. I've never lied to you before. And so he can send a letter. I'm just here discussing the matter with you. And my appointment is still ongoing. And I've been working with him intensively, as well as with behavioral therapists today and my PCP's office and my psychiatrist office to get everything aligned. So yes, I have seen my psychiatrist today, and he can submit that documentation, but I'm on the phone with you for him to conclude everything that goes into the documentation.
well,
And him and I have been discussing. So, Your Honor, if I'm telling you, Your Honor, that I do have legal documentation to submit to the court in regards to my medical,
this other documentation was just sent here moments before the hearing. So I guess I'm not understanding, if you had additional information, why you didn't send it in with the packet you sent me.
because I'm waiting on getting it sent to you, because I wanted to make sure that, I know you said one time I didn't appear, Your Honor. I have pictures in which I did appear and I was booted off. And I have voice recordings of when I called the court. I've been here, even though this is traumatic for me and does nothing but hurt Miss Hope's mental health. But Miss Hope is asking for an accommodation to get this letter in. And in this letter, it will state exactly what I'm telling you.
Well, I think that I had previously hearkened to your heart's cry for accommodation and was expecting letters from 2 weeks ago, which haven't yet arrived. And so,
I don't
in
understand, Your Honor. What are you
circumstances,
saying?
I'm saying that 2 weeks ago we convened and you indicated to me you would be filing some motions and sending some documentation, and I don't have any.
I faxed them, and I have confirmation that those were faxed, and you can
Okay.
file via fax.
I see you sent a letter, really, but
It's a promotion of continuance, Your Honor.
but
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, Your Honor. My apologies.
that's okay. But I'm prepared at this time to go forward with the hearing if that's what you want.
Your Honor, what's the question?
I have overruled your
Can I
motion.
take a 10-minute recess, please, before you make your final decision?
We are already at 4:07 in the afternoon.
Your Honor, may I please take a 5-minute recess?
You can take a 5-minute recess. I'm going to reconvene.
Your Honor, if I may, Your Honor, I have a physical therapy appointment at 5 o'clock, so I know that this is just going to go on and on and on, and so I would like to move forward.
Robin, can you
gonna-
confirm that I
I'm gonna-
this is Julie Hope. Can you confirm that I have a doctor's appointment today with Dr. Chediak today? What time was it at?
You already had it, as far as you were already.
Yes, and yes, today, correct? On October 7th, 2024. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And I told the doctor I need to talk to him more. So I just wanted to get your confirmation that I had that doctor's appointment with my psychiatrist. That is in fact the case, correct?
As far as I know, yes, you were scheduled for today at 3:30.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Please have the 5-minute recess, sir.
What?
You said I could have a 5-minute recess, Your Honor.
Well, I think you've taken a minute or two of it. I'll give you 3 more minutes. We'll reconvene at 4:12 and we'll go as quickly as we can in hopes of getting Mr. Holmes to his medical appointment.
Your Honor, did you hear my psychiatrist's receptionist stating that I was seen by my psychiatrist, correct?
Yes, I did hear that you had an appointment with them today.
Yes. So I am giving you factual information, and that is it. That's a witness, Your Honor. So yes, I have
okay.
additional. I have.
Are you wanting to take a recess or do you want to go
Yes.
forward right now?
Yes,
okay.
Your
We'll
Honor.
take a recess then.
Okay, Your Honor,
3 more
I have
minutes.
my phone. I have the time showing, Your Honor, as
We're going to reconvene at
4:12.
4:12. Thank
4.
you.
Mr. Holmes, may I ask you a question to present to your plaintiff?
Who's asking me?
Ms. Hope, may I ask a question for you to present to your plaintiff? You
What is
discussed
it?
If Ms. Hope is not, if Miss, oh, this is my doctor. Dr. Chediak?
Yeah, what happened?
Excuse me 1 second, doctor. Excuse me 1 second, Mr. Holmes. Pardon me? Mr. Mr. Holmes? Your Honor, may I ask Mr. Holmes a question on the side room? One quick to his plaintiff?
That's fine if he's willing to visit with you, Mr. Holmes. Are you willing to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Ms.
For
Balin,
just
if you
for
can,
like a minute.
yeah, if you could put Miss Hope, Mr. Holmes, and Mr. Van McGregor in there, please.
And Your Honor, I just got off the phone from my doctor, and he's gonna be a lot of complications, so he is gonna have that legal documentation to you in regards. And I just got off the phone with him. Phone records can prove it. So I just wanted to let you know that as I step away.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank
I'll let you talk with Mr. Holmes, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. So I joined this break room, Your Honor.
You'll be put into the meeting.
Join it. Yes, sir.
All right, I have 2 cases left on the docket, and I anticipate that at least one of them will be having a trial. I would like to check, frankly, the status of the latter case, and I'll call that case now. We're on the record in Hector Van McGregor versus Julie Hope. Case number is Butler County 24 LM 1193. Mr. McGregor appears in person and by and through his counsel, Kurt Holmes. I believe Ms. Hope appears as grateful legal advocate. This matter is before the court, with the court having stayed the earlier writ in the case and having set the matter for a hearing here and now, as was requested by Ms. Hope. Depending on the nature of how the parties are wishing to go forward, I might take up the other trial first, or try to ascertain what people are indeed wishing to do. Ms. Hope raises several issues, but the one that I was the most keen to try to understand today at this point is there was a document submitted alleging that the plaintiff in the case might have a different perspective or a different way forward. And I guess I might defer to you, Mr. Holmes, to advise the court as to any opinion you may have about that document or what you would like to do at this point.
Your Honor, I would have to defer to Mr. McGregor as to what he wants to do today. I'd have to ask him in front of the court.
All right. Mr. McGregor, I do have the document that was alleged to have been written and signed by you on the 18th of this month. What indeed are you wishing to do at this time, sir?
I wanted the eviction to happen. And this document that I signed was post eviction to help Miss Hope get the eviction notices off her record. And she submitted that. And in that process, that is my wish, is to have the eviction served.
Okay. Ms. Hope, with respect to the question of the eviction proper, was there anything you wanted to say about this document that has been submitted?
Good afternoon, Judge Murfin. Thank you for your time, sir, and thank you for Butler County District Court's time. And thank you to the state of Kansas. I am very appreciative for this opportunity. My first question, sir, are we on record on for this case?
Yes.
So this is all available this is all being transcribed, sir?
It's being recorded by the Zoom hearing that we're all on. So it would be possible to access the audio and visual from the Zoom hearing.
So it will be submitted in conjunction with today's hearing. Is that correct, sir?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by submitted, but it's being recorded and it would be available. Yes, ma'am.
It will be transcribed with the hearing
It will
case.
probably not be transcribed absent some sort of an order concerning transcription, but it is being recorded.
Well, I want to be sure that I stayed on the record twice. Then the defendant, Miss Hope, and I speak in the term the defendant as this allows me to better communicate to you more effectively, sir. The defendant is still under the doctor's orders that her mental capacity is still not rendered fully capable. And I've submitted that documentation, and I've noticed that there hasn't been any. I honestly don't know what that means or if it has any bearing in this case. And I don't really understand what's going on today, but I am grateful for this opportunity to participate. And I will do the best that I can, since I don't have counsel at this moment, which I'm working on the process of securing. But in terms of your question, sir, will you please repeat it respectfully?
I just wondered, with respect to the document you had submitted from Mr. McGregor, what opinion you had with respect to that document.
Well, can you be more specific in what you're asking me in that question? Because that's a very broad question, sir.
Well, what do you think it stands for, and what do you think the court should do with the document itself?
Well, Your Honor, the defendant submitted this document as evidence because Mr. McGregor stated that this document could be used to appeal and I apologize, I'm having anxiety, to appeal and any of these of restitutions in whatever that document says. So my understanding was that that was the case. And also in a follow-up conversation, Mr. McGregor stated, the defendant asked the plaintiff, why did you sign this written statement? And he stated that it was because he thought that it would not be filed in time for the court to hear it.
Okay.
And so my understanding with that, it was in his belief that his conduct, like many other points in the briefing submitted by the defendant today, to include the previous motion submitted on the 18th, was just another instance of the plaintiff believing that his actions were above the law in this case for some reason. So
Okay.
he and I both, he was the person who even stated that he wanted to dismiss these cases. My understanding, and the defendant has some safety concerns in speaking out about these matters because of the many injuries that have occurred as a result of these claims, in an attempt to cause defamation of character to the defendant's personal, professional, and legal uh, records for the case, and just for her livelihood, her financial livelihood, and merely an attempt to allow access to the plaintiff to have easy access to exploit the defendant sexually whenever he sees fit. This can also be proved in a voice memo that was recorded this weekend, where the plaintiff states explicitly that he, in fact, likes the idea of having the defendant here for him to be able to come to and receive sexual benefits from these ongoing matters.
Okay. Mr.
And Ms. Hope requests also that this case be continued when she has the has the has an attorney present to represent her in this case, as this is a very complex and it involves appeals of 3 evictions, and it's merely an attempt for the plaintiff to uh, elude and not be responsible for financial litigation, as these 2 individuals have had an ongoing relationship, sexual relationship, sometimes consensual, other times not consensual, other times exploitive, over the past years, where the defendant has resided here for over at least 12 months in full over the 3 months. Respectfully, the defendant seizes his. There's more to say, but the defendant is having trouble with some anxiety.
Okay. Mr. Holmes, anything you'd like to say on the subject of the submitted letter?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Holmes, or excuse me, Your Honor, Mr. McGregor, the plaintiff, also throughout the course of this week has been telling the defendant that he wants to dismiss these cases, that he just wants the defendant to be reasonable, and that he will give her his vehicle in restitution for the vehicle damage, and relocation, financial 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 uh financial amount to relocate the defendant. And he's defined the specific terms, the length, and the amount. And he stated these facts and continued to state these facts up until Sunday at 8 p.m. And so the the plaintiff requested that if an agreement was made in dismissing this case and this hearing not be held, that Ms. Hope, the plaintiff, would request that any agreements be written so she could have have an attorney review the agreement and the soundness of it. And the defendant the plaintiff misled the defendant to think that this case would be conducted in a settlement agreement. And as such, the defendant has not had much time to be aware of what's really going on in this case, as much similar to most of these other cases, Your Honor. So I do beg and pray for the court to allow the plaintiff, the defendant, Ms. Hope, to seek legal counsel in how to move forward in the most reasonable way as described by the plaintiff, Mr. McGregor, and a, in a setting where she is in time frame where she's able to get to purchase a new vehicle if need be, to relocate long distance and finish up her medical appointments, to receive and enter the mental health long-term treatment as is planned by her therapist, her PCP, and her psychiatrist, and referrals to medical rehabilitation treatment for neurological injuries, Your Honor, sir.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go off the record just for a moment. I'll reconvene here hopefully in just a few minutes. Thank
Your
you.
Honor, before you go, I respectfully ask you to inform me as a person who's being forced to represent themselves via pro se under these conditions. What is this court hearing title, and what is the time length of this? Is this a trial? Is this a pre-trial? What is going on?
This is with respect to your motion and my wanting to at least hear on the issue of the submitted letter. And I'm going to look at the file for a moment and I'll come back in probably 3 to 5 minutes. Okay.
Your Honor, yes, sir. And then what time frame is allotted for this? Is this a pre-trial or a trial, Your Honor, sir?
It's actually a hearing on your motion, the motion that you filed on the 18th of October.
For motion to stay the writ of restitution, Your Honor?
I had stayed the writ pending today's hearing date, and I want to consider first the question of this letter, and then from there we can go forward depending on the nature of the court's ruling.
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to relocate as soon as possible, please, Your Honor. So I pray that we can reset this soon, and that we can work together to come to an agreement where both parties have legal representation, as this process, all of this is causing undue mental distress. And I just want to move on with my life, sir.
All
Please.
right. Thank you, ma'am. And I'll be back momentarily.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we're back on the record rather in the McGregor versus Hope 24 LM 1193 case. I think that from my perspective, this may well be one of the more challenging cases I've heard. It's challenging to the extent that Ms. Hope has long had some good and reasonable explanations for the requests that she has made of the court. The court had sought to hear what she was saying and to hearken to her heart's cry where that seemed appropriate to the court. I think for his part, Mr. Holmes has done an excellent job for his client, and in point of fact, arrived at the destination that had been sought in terms of the orders the court had earlier made in the case. I do think that the letter from the 18th of this month, a week ago, is indeed, as Ms. Hope has explained, somewhat complex in that it has unequivocal language with respect to Mr. McGregor's willingness to not only with the case before the court at this time, but with respect to some other cases, take whatever action might be necessary to vouchsafe to Miss Hope basically a change in what I'm understanding to be the current state of the record. I do think that that level of complexity does augur for honoring Miss Hope's request for continuance. I am going to continue to stay the writ, the service of the writ. I'm going to set this over 2 weeks to give Miss Hope a chance to retain counsel, which she says she wishes to do. I think our next court date, or 2 weeks from now, I believe, is December 9. Miss Baylin, how many cases are already set at 3:30 that day?
I have one set at 3:30.
Okay. Well, I'll set this one also at 3:30, and we'll take it up as soon as that earlier case is done. I do think it is important, if there are additional documents that either side wants the court to consider, that they be submitted by next Monday, the 30th of November, to the extent that those are available. I also understand that some documents might not be available by that date, but I would ask that they be submitted as soon as is possible thereafter. It looks like, sorry, I had said November 30th, I meant by December 2nd. And I do think it's important that we get to a finish line. Ms. Hope, you're requesting a continuance. I'm granting that continuance, but I would like to try to get this case finished up for your benefit, for Mr. McGregor's benefit. It has been now a fairly protracted matter, but I am going to give you a chance to do as you have requested here today, and I'm hoping that we can be at a finish line with respect to this case by the time we take evidence or have an agreement announced on December the 9th.
Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize, but may I speak before you close, sir?
Well, I'm happy to have you do that, but
Yes,
if
sir.
you're intending to hire counsel to assist you with this, it may be the case that you would benefit from having counsel's advice as you go forward with the case.
Your Honor, I just have two simple questions. Your Honor, I request the attorneys that I have conferred with, they have said that their availability, if you were to continue this case, would be no sooner than December 16th. And so in finishing up final agreements and hiring and choosing two, among two of the choices, I would request that in making a final decision that you set this case over to the 16th, also to allow each party to submit evidence that will involve, also to allow time to file subpoenas for police officers of Andover Police Department who have been who've been present when statements of appeals were said to be an agreement from by Mr. McGregor, and also in regards to allowing the defendant time to be able to get everything resolved with her vehicle so she can actually drive and participate in the requirements of doing all the filing of this paperwork, especially since the defendant is not being granted access to her U.S. PS mail and has to travel 30 minutes to the Butler County District Court. And so this requires a working vehicle, and as such, the filings do state that there is record that Mr. McGregor, the plaintiff, has admitted to the defamation, the destruction and the vandalism and accessing and with of this vehicle, which by the way is only legally allowed to move with a mechanical device regulated by the federal government. And so Mr. McGregor has violated those federal laws as well. And also so to allow Miss Hope to be brave and be able to continue to receive therapy and psychological services to move and relocate and be able to participate in the hearing for the 9th, Your Honor. I request that you grant the additional week, as this does involve 2 additional appeals of the matter, and there could be implications to what happens in those other 2 cases, as this is a very complex case. And so I do ask you you reconsider the date, please. And I also ask for guidance on uh if the if the parties decide to expedite this prior for some crazy reason, so the defendant doesn't have to go through the undue distress of all of this. What does a defendant do when the plaintiff's attorney doesn't provide documentation of any settled agreements in the past that have been noted in these legal briefs regarding the case? And I also request that the judge order that the defendant, that the plaintiff's attorney submit the legal documentation in writing, so Miss Hope, the defendant, can have this legal documentation in speaking with legal representation in pursuing the next steps that you are adhering to your oath of legal conduct, which you have my deepest admiration and respect and appreciation for, Honorable Judge Pro Tem. Thank you so much. I ask that the defendant be able to understand what the plaintiff had wrote in that legal documentation and be able to provide it to legal counsel as well. Please, Your Honor.
Mr. Holmes, anything you'd like to say?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't know what we're doing. I've already got a judgment, and I don't have any intent of giving any more evidence or documents or anything. So I have no idea what she's talking about or what we're doing. And so as far as I'm concerned, unless the judgment's been set aside, we already have a judgment. You're staying this on the writ for us to come back and talk about having her removed from the home that we've been trying to get since August 13th. So I
Your
don't,
Honor, I ask,
I would certainly object to any further continuance.
Your
Okay.
Honor, I object to the plaintiff not providing
Well,
communication of what he wrote in that document. The document's
well,
illegible. I don't understand it, Your Honor.
I think
I don't know what it says.
I believe the order is filed in the case, and I don't know for certain what other document you would be speaking of. I do, and I am going to hearken to your request to continue the case, but my thinking is 2 weeks, I would like to think, is enough time for you to get counsel hired if that's indeed what you're going to do. And I would like to think that that would also give you adequate time to prepare any further argument that you have in the case. I acknowledge that the letter does create some potential complexity, and I understand your desire to want to retain counsel. But beyond that, we can take up any further argument on your motion, but I think that Mr. Holmes is right in terms of desiring to get this to a finish line. And at this point, I'm doing exactly what you requested. I'm continuing the case to give you a chance to get counsel. We'll take up any further argument you may have on the motion at the next hearing on December 9th, and then hopefully we can come through to a conclusion at that time. And I'll just look forward to seeing each and all December 9 at 3:30.
Your Honor, if I may object, the defendant does not know what the plaintiff's attorney submitted, the writing based on the judgment, based on the order that was signed. So how is the defendant able to confer with counsel about this judgment if the judgment was submitted with transcribed writing by the plaintiff's attorney, Kurt Holmes of Wichita, Kansas, and he will not type it for the defendant
Well,
to read.
the order and the writ were typed and submitted by Mr. Holmes, and
I never received that, Your Honor, sir.
well, it's in the court file, and if you want to, if you're coming to El Dorado, as you indicated, you may be anyway, you're welcome to request a copy from the clerk. For that matter, I don't know. I would have thought that perhaps that document had already been sent to you. Miss Baylin, do you know if the journal entry was sent to Miss Hope?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I would assume so.
Okay. Well, if you would please just send her another copy as a courtesy.
Yes.
And Ms. Hope, you can take up any of the concerns you have with counsel whom you've indicated you've already spoken to, and they should be able to help you from there.
Yes, Your Honor. And if I may, I would also like to request to dismiss this eviction as well, seeing as Mr. McGregor has agreed to release any claims associated with this action as said in this agreement. And the plaintiff, the defendant requests this because in the motion made today and in the brief and also submitted on the 18th, it did state multiple motions to modify, stay, or dismiss for lack of prosecutorial for possible.
I don't think it said for lack of prosecution. I had reviewed that recently, but if you want to renew any motions along those lines when we reconvene, you're welcome to do that. I guess my thinking is you had begun today's hearing saying that you hope to hire counsel to take up all of the matters that letter may be touching on. Is that what you want to do?
Your Honor, I respectfully am not well versed on the law. However, I believe this case is founded. It lacks jurisdictional jurisdiction because the case was this is a
Well,
okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm so sorry. I don't want to get into much detail. I'm just stating this request as it was a motion. So I'm making another appeal, Your Honor. I understand. I don't understand the complexity of it, but if you feel there's a legal basis cited in the case law and the court and the Kansas annotated case references in these case briefings with the evidence, I would request that you also include that in your decision and whether to either dismiss this case and or if you don't see fit and if you see that it is has legal standing to dismiss, I ask that you do that. But I also request that if you don't find legal standing, then to continue it for the reasons listed in the briefs filed with the courts. And I also request that all these documents be filed in the court legal records that are available for public viewing as well, please, Your Honor, to include specifically the written agreement, as none of that nor the journal entry have been filed on the Kansas judicial website, Your Honor. Do you believe there's judicial cause to dismiss this case, Your Honor, sir?
Well,
With
the
current
question,
evidence?
what you had asked me initially was to continue the case because of the complexity that was engendered by the November 18 letter. I had granted that request. Is that not what you're wanting me to do?
I'm asking you to do, if you can do both. I don't know if I'm legally able to do that, Your Honor, so I apologize. I'm pro se and I don't know. I don't know. So I'm asking you if there's legal basis to dismiss the case.
Well, inasmuch as you had initially sought to have an opportunity to hire counsel, I feel like I want to give you that opportunity. And if, when we reconvene on the 9th, either through counsel or if you're still representing yourself, you'd have anything else you'd like to discuss on the motion or any other request you may wish to make of the court at that time, you're welcome to do that.
Your Honor, yes, sir. And my question is then in regards to this legal case, and again, thank you so much. I feel so grateful and honored for this opportunity, Your Honor, of Butler County, Kansas. And I'm so grateful the Air Force and the University of KU and Avila University and my medical providers and family and friends have given, and God have given me the strength to advocate for women's rights in a civil suit or any other possible criminal lawsuits that may proceed. I'm so thankful for the honor to be brave and the encourage of Representative Vic Miller to be brave in advocating for justice as a woman with the honor of having a degree of a bachelor's of social work who has an oath to advocate for legal rights. I'm so grateful and I appreciate you allowing me to state that. I just wanted to apologize that I don't understand this process. So going forward, in order to receive documentation of what's going on exactly in these court cases, is my only way to access these court documents that have been ordered to come to the Butler County courthouse because I'm not being permitted access to my USPS mailings, Your Honor. Is that the correct way? And what does the defendant do if the plaintiff attorney refuses to communicate with the defendant to receive this documentation or any and
Well, as we had
what do I
discussed,
do?
I don't know what, if any, additional documentation would be anything that Mr. Holmes would even have access to, let alone be in a position to have to make available to you. I don't know specifically what you may be speaking of, but I do know this much. I think that you filed a motion on the 18th seeking a stay and an opportunity to be heard today. I had hearkened to your heart's cry, initially at least, on the strength of the submitted letter and to try to ascertain what the meaning of that letter was from both yours and Mr. Holmes' client's point of view. You had sought an opportunity to hire counsel to assist you, given what you've explained is the complexity, and I understand where you're coming from there. And I have granted your continuance request to December 9th, and we will go from there. And certainly, if you do indeed hire counsel, I would suggest that that person will probably be able to assist you as well.
Your Honor, but to get the written orders that come as a result from today's court hearing and November 8th court hearing. And it's the only way for the defendant to come to the court is to the Butler courthouse.
The only document
Sorry.
that will be coming out of today's court hearing is just a notice of the new court date that I've just given you, December 9th. I don't suspect there'll be any other written document coming out of today's court hearing.
Will these documents be submitted to the court case on the judicial court court case record for public viewing as all the other documents have been submitted, Your Honor? Will I be allowed the same legal right to have those be timely submitted on this court filing?
You'll be sent a copy of the document that will have the new court date on it. And any other document that's filed in the normal course of business should be accessible electronically.
But the filings I filed with the court have been submitted for the motions to postpone the court to continue the case. Is there going to be additional documentation posted on the court?
If you submit additional documentation, I suppose so. Mr. Holmes already indicated he doesn't believe there's any other submission necessary by his client, Mr. McGregor. But Ms. Hope,
I'm so sorry, Your Honor.
No apology necessary, but I've sought to answer your questions, and I do understand that you had begun by asking for continuance. I've granted that request, and I'll just look forward to seeing you and Mr. Holmes and Mr. McGregor on December 9th.
Your Honor, do you believe that this case should be heard before a different judge as this case is?
You had raised that specter before, and I had ruled on that specter before. I never ascertained from you that there was any reason other than you didn't feel comfortable, but I never knew what it was specifically. And as the record would otherwise reflect, in prior hearings, you have at once told me that I was doing a good job, and then told me that you might prefer to have another judge assigned to the case.
In lieu of new evidence,
filings
to the case stating there's 3 lawsuits. Your Honor, I respect.
Let me stop you for 1 second.
My apologies.
If you have anything else that you want to add by way of further motioning the court, you're welcome to do that. But I would encourage you, please, to get that in before the 2nd so that Mr. Holmes could have a chance to look at that as well. But those will be the orders of the court.
Okay. Yes, Your Honor.
Look forward to seeing you guys.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you guys. Thank you.
And
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Miss Wells, thank you so much for your help. I hope I'm doing this process correctly. I sent you an email. Can I call you later tomorrow, ma'am, if I have questions?
Julie, if you have questions, you're welcome to phone me, yes.
Thank you for your